removing the essence of perception to wipe out the fifth aggregate and eighth consciousness, eradicating attachment to the ego to reveal the one reality. Ananda asked, "If this essence of seeing is my wondrous nature, the latter should manifest before me. If seeing is my real ego, then what are my body and mind? But in fact, my body and mind can discern things, whereas that seeing cannot discern my body. If perception is my mind and causes me to see things, then this perception is my ego, whereas my body is not." This is exactly what the Buddha previously refuted with the argument that objects should then see me. Will you be compassionate enough to enlighten me? Rooting out Ananda's misconception of objects being and not being perception. Misconception of objects being perception. The Buddha replied, "Ananda, your conception of perception being in front of you is incorrect, because if it is, the essence of perception should have a position which can be shown. As you sit in Jetavana Park, you see its trees and nullas as well as this hall, with the sun or moon overhead and the Ganges in the distance. As you are now in front of my lion seat, moving your hand to point out the surroundings, such as the dark foliage of the wood, the bright sun, blocking walls and clear open spaces, as well as grass, plants, and very small things, although they are of different sizes, each of them can be pointed out. If they are really your seeing, manifesting in front of you, you should be able to show which one is your seeing. Ananda, you should know that if voidness is your seeing, since it has already become your perception, then how can it be empty? If an external thing is your seeing and has already become your perception, how can it be external? So, after dissecting all things in front of you, pick out the bright and pure principle of your perception and show it to me to prove that it is clearly and irrefutably identical with externals." Ananda said, "From this hall I now see the Ganges in the distance, the sun or moon overhead, and all that I can point out with my finger and see with my eyes. They are all external things, but not one of them is my perception. World-honored one, as the Buddha has said, not only a beginner in the Shravaka stage, like myself, who is still in the stream of transmigration, but even a bodhisattva cannot dissect things and pick out the essence of seeing, which has an independent nature apart from phenomena." The Buddha said, "Correct, correct." Misconception of objects not being perception. The Buddha said, "As you have said, there is no essence of seeing with an independent nature apart from phenomena. Now, if there is no perception in the things you point out, I now ask again, as you and the Tathagata sit in this Jetavana Park, when you see the wood and all externals, including the sun and moon, if there is no essence of seeing which can be picked out from them, tell me which one is not the seeing." Ananda replied, "Of all things seen in this Jetavana Park, I do not know which one is not the seeing. Why? Because if the trees are not the seeing, why do I see them? If they are the seeing, why are they trees? If the void is not the seeing, why do I see it? If the void is the seeing, why is it empty? I, too, have thought carefully about all this, and now conclude that each one of them is the seeing." The Buddha said, "Correct, correct." In the assembly, all those who had not achieved the stage beyond study were very surprised at hearing the Buddha say this. They failed to understand his meaning and were perturbed and thrown off balance. The Buddha realized their perplexity and alarm, and took compassion on them, saying, "Virtuous men, the words of the King of the Supreme Law are true, accord with reality, and are neither deceitful nor false, unlike those of the heretics whose sermons are arbitrary and aimless. Now listen attentively. Your faith in me shall not be in vain."